Okay, hello everybody, welcome to Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. This is going to be a boxing issues video today, and where basically I'll throw a whole load of issues and fights and goings on in the sport into one specific video instead of putting up fragments of bits and bobs in different videos. So it'll be basically all in one. Let me start with a tribute to a warrior tonight. He's lost his last 3 fights on the spin to Danny Garcia, David Emmanuel Perete, who is really not a renowned name. That is really the sign, really, when you're losing to a guy like that the end is truly coming. And Omar Figueroa, who stopped him tonight. And he's been out of the ring for 19 months, I believe, according to PBC. I think it's time for Robert the Ghost Guerrero, who is a warrior at heart, to consider life outside of the sport. He was dropped, I think, 4 or 5 times tonight by Figueroa. By the time the second round came, he was fighting Figueroa's fight, going on the inside, having a body war. It was eventually a body shot that stopped the Ghost, wasn't it? But the uppercut was devastating Robert the Ghost Guerrero on the inside. Figueroa was getting the better of the Ghost on the inside. And classic sign when a fighter really is past their prime. His punch resistance has gone. Robert Guerrero's punch resistance has gone. And it's gone again, seemingly very quickly. Because he held his own against Danny Garcia. He took punches from Danny Garcia. He was dropped by Keith Thurman. Held his own v Keith Thurman. But the chin held up. Tonight it didn't hold up. I want to pay tribute to Robert the Ghost Guerrero. He's beaten some really good fighters. And tonight, the first round from the Ghost was the best round I've seen from him in years. Unfortunately, he didn't sustain it, did he? He was boxing well, but then he got into a dogfight, which the Ghost seems to have a habit of doing. And when you're in a dogfight, you put yourself in the zone of me or you. And it was Omar who was the better man on the inside, and he was rusty in the first round. I'm not saying that the Ghost applied those tactics throughout the fight that eventually Omar wouldn't have got to him, because the ring rust in the first round was evident. But the Ghost can't seem to stick to a game plan anymore. I don't really think he ever could. He was always a warrior. He beat Andre Berto being a warrior. He beat Michael Casillas, Joel Casamayor. I don't really ever believe that he belonged in the same ring with Floyd Mayweather. You know, I do think that Floyd was, shall we say, he knew that he had it. He could get one over on the Ghost at that point rather easily. But this guy's been a multi-world champion, Robert the Ghost Guerrero. He's a champion in the ring, no doubt about it. He's a warrior. And he's a warrior as a man. And a bit of a hero as a man, the way he stuck by his wife through cancer. And he's helped her get through it. But now, he's helped her. She needs to start helping him and being a bit concerned about his health and telling the Ghost, because fighters are the last to accept when their time is numbered. But Robert the Ghost Guerrero, it was a classic fight. I'm stumbling my words because that was just sensational. He fought well, but it was an old dog doing old tricks. And Mrs. Guerrero needs to tell Robert now, stay at home and be the best man you can be, because he is a good man. He is a warrior. And he deserves to leave the sport with his health. And his father, his trainer, needs to tell him the same. But it was pulsating stuff. But Mr. Guerrero, you were always fun to watch. And you were a very good fighter, no question about it. But you were knocked out tonight by a guy who was basically a lightweight not so long ago, and is not even a welterweight now, really. He's been a champion at light welterweight, but you were taking punches by big punchers. Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Andre Berto, Mr. Casillas, who can hit. And you beat some of these. But maybe the wear and tear on the chin is now starting to tell. And I think it is. 4 knockdowns, that's never happened to you before. It's all caught up, I think, Robert. It's time to call it a day, I think. But thank you for everything. You've been absolutely a standout guy in the sport. And boxing needs guys like you in the sport, but we don't need guys like you being too brave, getting hurt. Leave while your health is in a good place and focus on the next step. Moving on. The WBO's rescoring of Manny Pacquiao. I said it was an absolute pointless exercise because it's not going to change the result anyway. Now, the WBO proceeded to score the fight for Jeff Horn. Does that change my mind now because the WBO rescored the fight about the outcome? No. My eyes saw what they saw. And I've watched that fight myself. And my conclusion is, off the WBO's score, on the rescoring, they still don't know how to score a fight. Because I'm telling you, those 5 judges, none of them gave round 9 a 10-8. It was a 10-8. None of them come up with that ridiculous 117-111 score. But still, there's something going on with this WBO rescoring, because if they would have rescored it for Jeff Horn and I'd have seen a 10-8 in there, I would have thought, well, maybe they've concluded that he won in other areas. But no 10-8. And if they would have included the 10-8, on many of their scorecards, Jeff Horn wouldn't have won, I don't think. But it wouldn't change the outcome of things anyway. And Manny Pacquiao is coming towards his end. I suppose it's good for them that they try and promote a young, up-and-coming WBO champion, Jeff Horn. I think Jeff Horn can hold his own in the welterweight division, but I'm under no illusions that he beats Keith Thurman. Or I think he has a chance with Danny Garcia, just for his pure strength. But if you want to walk onto Keith Thurman's punches coming forward like that, by all means, good luck to you, but you may end up on the canvas. Same with Errol Spence. I think Errol Spence possibly beats Jeff Horn. Again, Jeff Horn could prove me wrong. Maybe Kell Brook, if he fights at welterweight again, which I'm not sure he will, but Kell Brook hates that pressure fighter, doesn't he? He's succumbed to it on multiple occasions. Carson Jones gave him a living nightmare. Golovkin broke him to pieces. Spence eventually broke him to pieces. Jeff Horn's style, I think, would give Kell Brook all he could handle. But as for some of the others, I think Jesse Vargas is a tough outing for Jeff Horn. I think if Timothy Bradley can get back to the way he was in the Rios fight and some of the good stuff he did do in the third Pacquiao fight, I think he gives Jeff Horn hell. Because Timothy Bradley is bigger, he's quite strong, and he just has more skill. So I think he has everything and all the tools to beat Jeff Horn, plus very good footwork. And I suppose people are saying now about Mr. Pacquiao, should he retire? One thing he did show me in that fight, he still is very rugged, Manny Pacquiao. His punch resistance has not gone. Jeff Horn had knocked out 11 of his last 16 opponents. But Manny took his punches as though, is that all you've got? Now, I wouldn't advise Manny to start taking heavy shots at this age. But when you consider where Manny started as a fighter, what a chin the guy's got. You know. I suppose great chins, you're either born with them or you're not. I don't think you can ever develop that in the gym. Same with great punchers. I think great punchers can fade. I think great chins can fade. And I think you can improve by getting rugged in certain ways you position your chin, i.e. tucked instead of, out in the air as Amir Khan tends to leave it. But Manny Pacquiao's chin at times was tagged by Jeff Horn. And you only notice it in the replay. And he was staggering Randall Bailey and people like that, Jeff Horn. He was knocking them black and blue. But Manny Pacquiao, the shot bounced off his chin. I've no doubt the toughness is still there. Maybe if he cuts his time in the Senate a little bit and refocuses, he could come back and do a better job the next time out. I'm still not happy that the rematch could be called in Australia again. I think Manny Pacquiao is still a big enough name, still generates enough money to say, hang on a minute, I defended my title in your backyard, now you defend your title, controversially won, somewhere else. Let's do it in Vegas. If we don't have to do it in the Philippines, let's do it in Vegas on neutral ground. Because he has to really do a number on Jeff Horn to win in Australia. That's the way it is. We've seen decisions like that in Germany, haven't we? UK's bad. America can be really bad. Australia, I think they're so excited that they've got a welterweight like this that if he hits thin air, they're going to see that as a Mike Tyson knockout punch. Moving on. Chris Eubank Jr. against Arthur Abrahams. Tonight's fight went much the way that I thought it would. And Arthur Abrahams is another one. I think he's still got potential to take punches, which he did tonight. I think it's time to retire. It would have been a far more competitive fight this a few years ago, in my opinion. The way Mr. Eubank was posing in the ring and sort of at times inviting Abrahams on, I think a younger Abrahams would have punished him for that style of showboating in the ring. Eubank is trying to be like his dad, a showman. And I have to say, he does have some skills. And he does use volume, doesn't he? How does he do in a Super 6 competition now? Well, tonight really didn't tell me anything because Abrahams, I think it was when he lost a fight against a Mexican guy who was the first Mexican to win a middleweight world title. I think his name was Rodriguez, if I'm not mistaken. But Abrahams recently, all he seems to offer is a come-forward version of Joshua Clottey. In other words, a high guard and walking you down and hoping his power and his shots can hurt you and eventually finish you late. He hopes for you to tire to a certain extent. Eubank's foot speed and volume and body punching slowed Abrahams down so much. I mean, he was slow to begin with. And I thought if Abrahams gets any slower, he'll stop. He will literally stop. Motionless. He just really wasn't doing enough work to pose any problems to Eubank Jr. Now, the good thing Eubank does, I like his jab, I like his hand speed, I like his volume. I like the way when Abrahams tagged him late on in the fight, he didn't show Abrahams any respect for that shot. If he was hurt in the slightest, he went on the offensive, which made Abrahams doubt himself. In other words, Abrahams is used to hitting people and them dropping. Well, Eubank Jr. didn't look like going down tonight. He took a few shots, but I don't think they hurt him that much. But he did hurt Abrahams to the body, and some of his uppercuts when he got Abrahams against the ropes were really, really good. But the problem was, with Abrahams being so high guard heavy and standing still like a statue when he was against the ropes, Eubank Jr. was able to really sit down and bite on his shots. He does hold his left hand really low, and against younger, better fighters, that could be an issue. You might not be able to show off against, a James DeGale, a George Groves, real tough, sharp shooters. Not saying he can't compete, or maybe he beats them guys. I don't know. But Abrahams really didn't offer much to tell me much about those particular types of contests. And I think the power at super middleweight is not the greatest. He seems to still have middleweight power to me. It's only, his second fight in that division. But he was able to throw all his might at times against Abraham. So if you're able to throw all your might with all your energy behind a punch, big right hands, lefts to the body and so forth, then you will hurt someone, even if you're not particularly a concussive puncher. But against better opposition, younger, fresher opposition, he won't be able to plant his feet like that because the fight will always be in motion. In other words, they will always be moving. They won't just be holding a high guard, letting you throw shots against gloves and hoping that you tire. They will be putting their game plan, applying their game plan on you too. And George Groves has a great jab. And he's a great combination puncher. So's Eubank though. He's a really good combination puncher. The question I've got though, is he a great combination puncher against static targets? Billy Joe Saunders, although I think right now Eubank Jr. is a better fighter than the time he fought Billy Joe Saunders. But just talking about Billy Joe Saunders for a second, Billy Joe Saunders' movement and boxing skills meant that Eubank could not sit on shots. But one thing he's learned, Eubank, since the Billy Joe Saunders fight is to not start slow. He was on Abrahams early tonight. As I say, Abrahams didn't offer much in terms of movement. He was, a stationary target with his hands up. But it's the mindset. He was quick, fast, throwing, not letting the guy think, right? The complacency level that is shown in the Billy Joe Saunders fight early, I think he's learned and he's wiped the slate clean there. I think in a rematch it's a different outcome. At the moment, I do think that if Billy Joe Saunders was to go up in weight to super middleweight, or Eubank Jr. was to come down again, I think that he could either stop Billy Joe Saunders late or win a unanimous decision, because Billy Joe Saunders wouldn't be given the space and the freedom, the air to breathe and put his boxing into play. Because Eubank did finish the first fight strong. The first 4 or 5 rounds, he probably dreamt away. He looked like he was asleep. But as the fight wore on, he definitely came into it. And one thing I noticed tonight, Eubank tended to throw punches and wild hooks and leave himself real wide open, where you could imagine a Gennady Golovkin coming over the top at a strange angle with a big right hand, and bam, there you go. Tonight he did it once or twice, but not much. Not much at all. So, there's an improvement there. He's not as wild. He's becoming more refined as he's going into his peak. So, a good performance, but a performance I expected. I knew Abrahams wouldn't be stopped because he's durable. But it's time for Abrahams like Robert the Ghost Guerrero to consider his next step. So, do we really have anything else to talk about? Well, there's Conor McGregor v Floyd Mayweather, isn't there? Let me tell you something. This is some of the most ridiculous, but I suppose entertaining in a way, stuff I've seen in terms of viewing press conferences. It is so WWE, it's a joke. But I'll talk about how each guy is doing. It's a bit like discussing which politician in Parliament does better than the other. The first press conference, I thought Conor McGregor was getting outwitted by Floyd Mayweather, if I'm honest. The next two, though, we're now seeing the Conor McGregor we've seen in the UFC. But it's pure WWE, let's face it. Floyd is doing the wrestler's tactics when he's talking. You know, when they're thinking about what to say, they have a good walk around the crowd or in the ring, pacing up and down, and they shout things like, yeah, until something comes into their head. Now, when you've got pure real animosity, things just flow out of your mouth. These two guys don't. It's even rumoured that they actually came to certain locations and certain press conferences in the same aircraft. That's not really a recipe for a grudge, shall we say. Now, is it convincing me, all this theatre? No, it's not. Because Floyd knows when it's serious business, right? Floyd really knows. He wasn't behaving like this for the Andre Berto fight even. And he certainly wasn't behaving like this for the Manny Pacquiao fight. Madonna too was when Floyd started to get really serious. The guys that Floyd think are a bit of a joke, he tends to do this sort of stuff because they're not as confident as they're saying that this fight is going to top Maypac, because Maypac sold itself. They didn't need any WWF stuff, but in this they clearly do. Floyd Mayweather, though, said that Conor McGregor stands a chance against him because of what we saw with Jeff Horn. But one thing Floyd has to consider, Jeff Horn is a boxer with 16 pro fights behind him before he fought Manny and an Olympic record, a quarter finalist. Conor McGregor doesn't have that background. However, the blueprint that Jeff Horn used against Manny Pacquiao, or more to the point, the blueprint that Marcus Maidana used against Floyd Mayweather, beats Floyd Mayweather now. And beats him, I think, a good 8-4. Because Floyd is saying he's rusty. I don't believe he's as rusty as he says he is. But he's, he won't be far off 41 soon. Right? The problem is Conor McGregor is a counterpuncher. All the UFCs are telling me the guy's a counterpuncher. Well, he's got to fight like he's going for broke, Conor McGregor. He's got to go in there. I noticed the size difference. Now, it meant nothing when Floyd fought Canelo. But that was Floyd at 35. This is Floyd at 40, right? And Canelo again is a counterpuncher. Not once did Canelo bother to throw caution to the wind at any point in that fight. It's just not in his nature. Neither did Marquez when he fought Floyd Mayweather. They just stuck to what they do, which is box. Now, Conor McGregor, when he is standing up and he is boxing, he counters you. He's kind of a smart boxer when he actually boxes UFC fighters. The one thing I'm thinking is the footage of Conor McGregor looking so bad sparring. Is it a front? Is he really better than that, but we just don't see it? Is he leading us down the wrong way and hoping he leads Floyd into a false sense of security with bad training footage? Maybe he's doing better than I'm giving him credit for. We've got 6 weeks to go. He's going to have to do a master's course in the sweet science. But I'm telling you, fundamentals won't win it for Conor McGregor. He has to be unorthodox. He has to go in there and he has to fight like a wolf and want to kill. If Conor McGregor uses his own boxing strategy, he has absolutely no chance. But old people, right? Old fighters, no matter how skilled they are, they hate attrition. They hate somebody who's in their face and reminding them with work rate and stamina about how old they are, right? Jeff Horn did remind Manny Pacquiao he's 38. That was evident. Ricky Hatton did remind Costa Tszyu he's 36. Madonna did remind Floyd that he was nearly 36. Canelo never did that. Conor McGregor has to be on Mayweather's chest. And even if he can't cut the ring off, he has to keep making Floyd's legs work. If he can't cut the ring off, keep moving, drive him down. Eventually, maybe, you never know, there could be a time when the old man's legs cease to move and he stops. Then, you're in a dogfight. And in a dogfight, a 40-year-old man, you never know if your luck's in, could end up looking like Robert the Ghost Guerrero. Conor McGregor, from what I'm told, has power in both hands. He's got to let his hands move with punches in bunches. I'll use a phrase from Rocky. He's got to punch until he can't punch no more. Does he have the stamina to do it in 12 rounds? I don't personally think so. But he's got to be training with that mindset. Floyd Mayweather's saying, I think I'm making him mad. I don't believe you're making him mad, and you know you're not making him mad. If you were making him mad, though, it's more in favour for Conor. Not even saying then, if he goes for a street fight, that he would beat Floyd in a boxing ring. But he's got to be thinking about being a wolf, being an animal, being a predator. Being a smart chess player will not do. Because if you play chess with Floyd, the old man doesn't have to work them legs. The old man is not in a physical battle. You are wasting the chance to ask an old man, are you now a pensioner? If you don't at least tick that box, you will leave the ring thinking, what could have been? I'm sure even Manny Pacquiao now thinks to himself, had I been more volume? I know Floyd's movement puts you in a position where you can't throw the volume, but we know Manny Pacquiao is capable. If Marcus Maidana could do it, Manny could do it. But Manny Pacquiao, again, is a clever exponent of the sweet science. He probably believed, hang on a minute, Floyd's good, but I'm a better boxer. It's a big mistake when you do that with Mayweather. Big mistake. The guy with the success, Castillo. Now, people said, well, that was a long time ago. Floyd's got better since. Yes, he did. But the same blueprint reared its ugly head against him again, didn't it, in the Maidana fight? Not only that, Floyd was busted up pretty well against Miguel Cotto when Cotto put the pressure on him. Ricky Hatton had some success before Joe Cortez decided, I'm going to win this fight myself. Never mind Floyd win it. I'll win it for you, Floyd. Right? If Conor McGregor can even be, I know it's possible because Ricky Hatton was a world-class fighter. If that Ricky Hatton fought Floyd Mayweather now, he'd beat him. No question about it. If the Marcus Maidana that fought Floyd Mayweather fought him now, he'd beat him. If the Cotto that fought Floyd Mayweather back then fought him now, he'd beat him. Dare I say, 2005 Manny Pacquiao even would give him some problems. That's why Floyd sort of looked at Mr. Margarito and thought, I can beat you, but it may be a little bit tricky because you just keep coming. Floyd doesn't like the guys that keep coming. He doesn't like being in the fire, as Teddy Atlas said. So that's all I've got today. We'll be making some videos soon, but Robert, it's time to consider your future. And thank you, Manny Pacquiao. I did make a comment on your Facebook profile, and I was actually put in one of the boxing media articles online as I was actually mentioning it, so that was great. And then you actually posted that article on Facebook today, so thanks very much for that, Mr. Pacquiao, and the guy that wrote the article and give me a mention. Much appreciated. So, Figueroa is going on. Robert Guerrero's time is up. Arthur Abraham's time is up. Eubank Jr. is improving. He's getting towards his peak, but he still has plenty of big fish in a big ocean to try and defeat. But we'll see. He's capable of doing well. Champions of Champions Boxing Talk. I'm out.